Hello. Now I'm on the second part, and I'm on the second page discussing these programs. The types of ESL programs on the second page, I think it's the green one. I sent this to you last week, types of programs. On this page, you have the sheltered instruction or content-based program and the newcomer program, which includes high-intensity language training. Let's do the sheltered one first. In schools that have quite a number of ESL students, they can't take care of it by pull out and push in. It gets to be too complicated, especially if there's a lot of variety in the levels of competency or fluency in the language. So you have students put into a class such as it can be a content class such as biology, and it's biology taught with ESL approaches. That means vocabulary, use of more visuals, specific emphasis on providing more clues, repetition, having students work in groups to some extent, and not being so dependent on just having students read, for instance, the textbook and understand the concept. I don't want you to call it remedial because its purpose is to reinforce language understanding. It doesn't have to do with a lack of intellectual ability, but to give more clues so that people can figure out how to do the exercise. In this class, I'll talk about differentiated instruction, which will be not just for ESL, but it can be used in general. So the sheltered instruction, to give you an example, some schools will have in the high school, they will have sheltered biology, sheltered physical science, sheltered basic English classes. Sheltered means that in this case, they would actually be taught with the same goals as a regular freshman English class, but the class would consist more of ESL students. And occasionally some people put in other students that might be termed more remedial. And that's strictly because of economics. You can't run 3 different sets of classes, maybe only 2. So the ESL may pick up some other students. So sheltered instruction means the books are chosen because they give abundant opportunities. I don't want you to say they're less intellectual. But if you were to study in a French classroom and we went back and you were a 6th grader and somehow you ended up in France, and they actually did prepare a sheltered French workshop in physical science or something, they might use a textbook that has more visuals and less just massive amounts of print in French. So it would give you more clues so that you could use your own ability to understand that if you're working on what is the concept of mass versus weight, that's always a tough one. Or what is the concept of virus versus bacteria, or types of bacteria, or RNA versus DNA. It would present it, but it wouldn't present it with just an assumption you could read it in French and grasp the understanding. It would actually have more diagrams. It would have some redundancy or repetition. They would say the same thing in different ways. Paraphrasing, that's another skill. When you teach ESL, even when you teach regular speakers, but you like to paraphrase to get the concept across. And the assumption is that the content class is kind of the last step before you get immersed in a regular classroom. Immersed, not baptized, but if you're just going to be thrown into the regular classroom. The students served come from a lot of different backgrounds. It's particularly good in content, sheltered instruction, content-based programs, is if you have students, several different types of languages in the room, and you're teaching the concept. So you, as a teacher, you can't just prepare for Spanish speakers. You may have Portuguese, Ukrainian, Russian, Arabic, African tribal. This is usually, you're going to find the sheltered instruction at the SIOP, by the way, that for this class, the SIOP instruction is sheltered. And as you go through it, and you've seen the video, I think I provided. So if you went ahead and just watched the whole video, you saw the main concept of sheltered instruction. A lot of things on there work with regular students to native speakers of English. The goal is fluency, but it's also academic knowledge base. So it's not just a matter of speaking English, it's a matter of academically getting the content material down. And you may be in those for a couple of years. This is an upper level of ESL. This is not newcomer, which I'm going to talk about next. And obviously you want content teachers to be certified, hopefully in both ESL and in the content area, but you may not find that. But that's why you don't have sheltered instruction for calculus, because you won't find people that can both teach calculus and are ESL types. You may more basic courses, algebra maybe, not algebra 2 though. Once you get beyond that, you will find ESL teachers that could work at that basic area. The second one, newcomer. Now, newcomer can be anywhere. The purpose of newcomer, first, is the idea of getting a student acclimated to the school. Literally, they're a newcomer. You bring them in, you teach them about the rules of the school. With ESL, you can't assume anything. You can't assume that kids know how to use a toilet. It depends on where they're from. There are cases where kids would, there might be a big round sink that kids are supposed to, and kids thought it was a urinal, and no, it's a sink. But they didn't know because they had never seen it before, so they didn't know what they were looking at. They just knew it was a bathroom. Or that they don't know to flush if you don't have automatic flushers. So those are some simple things. Also, everything, how to behave in the lunchroom. What kind of food can you eat if you have certain religious restrictions? So a newcomer program can happen or can be built almost anywhere where it's needed. If you get a large number of students that don't know the proper behavior, then of course you need to teach that, and you need to teach it up front. You can't just wait for a few years or for a month, because you want to reduce the conflict so that other teachers are comfortable with your students. A lot of people use newcomer in the secondary school. It mentions that here. I've also seen it for kindergartners, first just to get them used to what the rules are. So it has to deal with some language intensity, but it's mainly survival English. You're not teaching the entire language or academic skills in there very much. You're teaching more social skills. What we call social English, I think, is more common in a newcomer program, and to get them acclimated. So those are the two on that page. And I think the sheltered is the one where the academic work is done. The newcomer is the one when you just try to get people ready to go into the classroom. There are exceptions to all these. Just like I said, almost all these programs can be modified. They're all hybrids. So there is no one way to do a program. And remember the rule, the state rule, if you read in there, is you should use an accepted or research-based means for language instruction or general instruction to students. Don't come for some wild thing no one's ever used. But I have to tell you that people have used various types of instruction that wasn't effective with ESLs. But because it had been used sometime in history, people thought, well, no, this is good. And some of you know what I'm talking about, and I won't go into details, but there are types of instruction that schools latch on to that don't work. And that means our work is never done or won't be done for a long time because they're kind of loosey-goosey. ESL programs are created by people that may not be the ESL specialists they should be. So I'll just let you ask me questions if you have questions about that. Okay, I hope to get this on YouTube, I think. I'm having a little trouble getting these settled in.